All right, all right. I have never in my life seen the show Euphoria. Never in my life have I seen it. The internet was like absolutely dick riding it a little while ago. It felt like it came out of nowhere. Like two seasons of the show came out of nowhere. Like I remember I heard about it for the first time and season 1 was premiering, and then it felt like 3 months later I heard about it for the second time, and then everyone was talking about it, and it was because season 2 was premiering. I apparently season 1 premiered in 2019 though, so it was actually a while ago that it started. It's been a couple years. I don't know. I don't even know what the show's about. Here, let's read the synopsis. What is there? Is there a synopsis? Euphoria is an American teen drama television series created and principally written by Sam Levinson for HBO and based on the Israeli miniseries of the same name created by Ron Lezem and. Okay, that tells us nothing about it. Well, it's probably about like I heard it's like 13 Reasons Why, but not bad, or at least decent. Is my understanding. People love it. People absolutely love it, and apparently it actually does a decent job of touching on some pretty serious and hard hitting topics, and it's very very popular. And of course, it's very very popular with the little gays. The little gays on the internet love this show, and as you can imagine, if it were to come out that a actor or two or actress or two on the show ended up having some problematic views, the fan base might get a little bit upset about that. You know? It might be something that, maybe they might get a little bit of shit for. So, that brings us to Hunter Schafer, who, correct me if I'm wrong, I got briefed on this by my editor before this stream because I know nothing about Euphoria. However, I am aware of this topic. Hunter Schafer is a trans woman who plays a trans character in Euphoria. And apparently, she has posted cringe. I hope all of the people, NBs, in parentheses, who fought to have the trans identities no longer considered a medical condition that requires dysphoria are happy because you've won. The red states are beginning to agree with you. HRT, by the way, I don't think she posted this. I think she just dropped support for it because this is posted by someone else on Instagram. It's not her name posting it, but she did post like exclamation points and like what looked like support for it, so that's what I'm pretty sure it is. Anyway, it's alarming nonetheless. The red states are beginning to agree with you. Really? The red states are beginning to agree with the NBs. Okay. The red states are beginning to agree with you. HRT and gender-affirming surgery are no longer deemed medically necessary for adults in Florida, and it's not going to stop there. That means more trans people will have to pay for their transitions out of pocket, forcing more of us into sex work. Y'all just couldn't stand to let binary trans people be the voice of this community. Oh god, the mask coming off is wild. You had to dismantle all the guidelines around being trans to fit your narrative so you could feel valid. Then you demonized trans people who challenged your ideals and called them Truscum and trans medicalists. What you don't understand is that binary trans women and men don't have the luxury of playing around with what it means to be trans the same way you do. You challenge gender ideologies from the safety of a cis body that requires no medical treatment. We have to play the game and live by the guidelines that cis people have created for us because that's how we survive. You're not helping. You're not dismantling the gender binary. You're not expanding the minds of cis people. You're making them hate us. For the last time, I'm begging non-binary people to take a seat and let trans people, and more specifically black trans women, be the voices of this community because they are the ones at risk. Wow. We've broken through. We've broken through into all new levels of weaponizing idpol for bigotry. When you can turn bigotry woke, you really know you've pulled something off that's quite autistic and artistic at the same time. I feel like we need to go down the whole post and take it apart piece by piece. Now, to be clear, her supporting this post is pretty sussy wussy. Now, that was the Instagram story that Hunter Schafer had supported. This is the post along with the story that she commented on that she supported. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. It's been 24 hours since I posted this on my story, and I just want to say thank you to all the people who were receptive to my point of view. I heard from dozens of other trans women and men who shared the same sentiment, so I'm posting it here as well so conversation can continue. I just want to be clear that I do not think that NB people are solely responsible for this anti-trans movement we are seeing in red states and right-wing spaces. There are many contributing factors. I do, however, think that the people who are not medically transitioning and navigate their queerness through the privilege of a cis body need to take a step back from preaching validity based on gender theory and think about how the language they are using affects binary trans people in the real world. There it is. Stop. People that are basically what they're saying is, well, they're basically advocating for the same exact thing that happened during the Stonewall movement, right? So, all right, let me explain what's happening here, basically on a psychological level, and let me refer back to a historical example as well. For basically all of modern history, like what you consider modern history, hegemonic society has been controlled by what cis, het, white men mostly, but generally just cis, het, white people, but usually cis, het, white men, are most comfortable and most happy with. That's generally been what's guided society for a very, very long time. Very, very long time. That's how things worked. It wasn't until pretty relatively recently that, at least here in America, we started, or what is now America, that we started to see things get a little bit different, that we started to see women get the right to vote, that we started to see black people not, have to be slaves anymore, which was a pretty big step. Black people getting to work jobs like anybody else and make as much money as anybody else and buy a house or work anywhere or rent a place or anything like that like anybody else. Like the ending of, we could go down the line there with racial justice and whatnot. And then, of course, we can also land on the LGBT community. Now, if you go back to like the 60s and the 50s, if you weren't straight and you weren't cis, well, you were not going to be accepted in the vast majority of spaces, okay? It was people who would be accepting of LGBT people were few and far between back in the day. There were places, it's not like it was a hellscape for anyone who was LGBT back then, but it was no doubt a lot worse than it is today. I think that should be obvious. But with that said, over time, we've seen things change, just as we've seen with other groups of people who in the past were kind of put down by the hegemonic values of where we are, I guess we'll just say of the West, right? Because that's what I'm speaking about now. It's where I'm from, it's where I live, it's where I've grown up, it's what I know the most. Things change over time because those that are not given their human rights generally fight for their human rights. Sooner or later, they get angry, they pick up the pitchforks and torches, they start exercising their First Amendment rights, if they have them, or even if they don't have them, and they go and they get themselves their rights. That's what America's all about. At least that's ideally what America's all about. Now, notoriously, white, heterosexual, cisgendered people can be a little bit iffy on LGBT people, okay? And it's generally for different reasons than they may be iffy towards other marginalized groups. Usually it comes from a very emotional place of disgust. There's no actual, rhyme or reason to why they would feel that way. They just do. And it's a very emotional, no facts, just feelings kind of response, right? And so, very much like, there's a reason why they call it homophobia, transphobia, etc. So, when you have to break through someone's disgust response, someone's fear response, because it is rooted in fear to an extent a lot of the time, at least most of society's, queerphobia was back then, I would think. You kind of, at least people think you have to ease them into it, right? And so a lot of like gay and lesbian people just kind of thought that trans people, like binary, non-binary, doesn't matter, trans people, anyone who does not identify as the gender they were assigned at birth, were just too weird, too out there, too insane, too crazy, too different. The normies aren't going to accept it. They just, gays and lesbians just figured that gays and lesbians were going to be way easier to get society to accept than trans people. And so in large part, trans people were really kind of excluded from all of that, advocation. And it also doesn't help that, trans people are a relatively smaller proportion of society than gay and lesbian people are collectively. Nowadays, gay people, gay and lesbian people don't exactly have it 100% perfect. There's a lot of work to be done, especially with how many, far right red state pushes to take away the rights of LGBT people have been done lately. However, I think generally it's gotten better. However, it is objectively worse for trans people, okay? Generally speaking, if you're like living here in America, you're probably going to have a little bit worse socially and society, like just generally speaking, you're going to have it worse if you're trans than if you're like a lesbian or if you're gay and you're cis. It's just, I think that's a fair assumption to make. And that's because, in large part, society is really not even aware of trans people. Those that are have a negative opinion because they were informed of trans people through fucking South Park or like Ace Ventura or something. And so they're either like super misinformed or just have stereotypes and memes in their head that lead them to some pretty cringy positions. A lot of it just comes from straight up lack of education, and lack of education leads to fear of the unknown. And that results in the wave of transphobia we've seen in these red states lately. Now, from the perspective of people like Hunter Schafer, who's an actor or actress in Euphoria, that show, who plays a trans character who no doubt is somebody that a lot of young trans people, even non-binary people, look up to, who watch the show, to see her support this messaging that, like, you have to acquiesce to the, like, the hegemonic, conservative, far-right, red state push to basically make being trans illegal, that, like, non-binary people are, one, at fault for it, or even in any way at fault for it. Two, that if non-binary people didn't exist or did anything any differently or were any quieter with their existence, that things would be any different. Or three, that anybody would have the goal to try to blame non-binary people for the actions of transphobes. Why is it that non-binary people should receive the like hate for, or why should non-binary people receive the pushback from the left for the homophobia and transphobia the right pushes out? Why? Should they not get to live their lives? I don't know. Regardless, it's really disappointing to see from somebody who's no doubt very, very influential and a lot of young trans people look up to them, and to see them support that kind of messaging is, it's disappointing, right? And not only that, but another actress from Euphoria, Sydney Sweeney, who plays... Who does this person play? Do they even play an important character? Someone sent me this as another actor who's getting canceled from Euphoria. You guys, this is wild. An innocent celebration of my mom's milestone 60th birthday was turned into an absurd political statement. which was not the intention. Please stop making assumptions. Much love to everyone, and happy birthday, Mom. Apparently, this person is an actor in the show as well, and their mom did like a family photo, and they were all wearing like Trump hats and Blue Lives Matter, like Thin Blue Line and Blue Lives Matter shirts, which is a little bit weird. I don't know which character this person plays, but apparently they're in Euphoria as well. You know what I find really funny? Let me read you some of the replies to that tweet. Assumptions? Your family are wearing MAGA hats and Blue Lives Matter shirts. They're racist. Time to face reality, sweets. Just because you're white and famous doesn't mean you get to have it all. Sydney, sweetie, what assumptions? Your family is wearing Blue Lives Matter shirts. So, half of these comments call her sweetie. I'm not kidding. Half of the comments unironically call her sweetie, and one of them calls her sweets. All right? I feel like it's funny that right after that last segment I did, we somehow get brought all the way back around to how this type of behavior does not fucking work. Acting like a morally superior cunt does not make you look good, and does not make anything you stand for look good. Do you think anybody who's had this reply on their tweet is going to, like, reconsider their stance on continuing to associate with their family? Like, you're trying to convince somebody, I assume... I'm sorry, I gotta move my pillow that I sit on, because my seat is currently quite uncomfy. Anyway, do you think this person's going to reconsider their positions, or God forbid, reconsider their relationship with their family when they're getting tweets from people on the left like this? Like, hey, sweetie, you need to reconsider this or that. Like, come on. It's so judgmental, and it comes off as so morally superior. Actually, Swati, your family is racist, so you should just murder them? Like, okay. Come on. Like... The thing to call out here is not the fact that her family is racist, which they definitely are if what's being described in these photos is true. They probably are racist, let's be real. The problem isn't that her family is racist. The problem is that she's defending what her family believes. Had she come out and said something along the lines of like, what my family believes in does not reflect what I believe in. They're my family and I love them, but we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. Like, something like that would have worked, but whew. Euphoria actors out here getting canceled today. Out here getting canceled. Anyway, listen. Be careful what you say on the internet, all right? Be careful what you say on the internet. It might end up being stupid, and frankly, it might end up giving ammo to people with horrible worldviews and ideologies that want you dead. Who would have thought that conservatives would weaponize the behavior of people on the left who are acting crazy and use it for propaganda? Because that is literally what the Libs of TikTok account is. That video we covered earlier, the one from the lady that was complaining about Drew Barrymore, whatever her name is, that was perfect prime content for that Libs of TikTok Twitter account to use ammo as. Like, you got to be careful, you know? It's like who went to school? Who went to school like at a public school when they were younger in America, and would like wear their school uniform, and their teachers would say, when you wear your school uniform outside of school, you're representing the school. So anything you do outside of school or while wearing that uniform reflects poorly or positively on the school, and they'd like drill that in. That you guys have to like that was something they told me, at least, and like told my classmates in my, you know, grades whenever I was in school when we had uniforms. That was like early on, like elementary school. But yeah, I want you guys to remember those particular lessons, okay? when you're out there on TikTok and you're out there on Twitter and you're attacking some conservative for some dumb shit they said, just remember, you and that dumb conservative you're arguing with aren't the only ones there. You're not the only ones watching. There are spectators, and those spectators, they're on their own political journey. And who knows how much that interaction and that individual single anecdote ends up contributing to their entire worldview getting changed. Anyway, if you enjoyed this segment, please consider leaving a like. It does a lot more than you guys even realize. It's not just a simple show of support like, oh, hey, look how many people liked the video. It actually does make YouTube recommend my videos to more new people who don't even know I exist. When you like my videos, it directly helps my channel. So definitely like my content, like my videos, like my streams, like my VODs, whatever it may be if you want to support me for completely free. I really do appreciate it. It's very pog of you when you do. You can also see more from me by subscribing and ring the bell icon, and you can also follow my social media, link down below if you want to see more from me on other places on the internet. And of course, don't forget, if you've got the money for it and you don't need it for anything else and you just don't know what to do with it, you can always support me financially over on my website, xanderhall.com/live, by donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub to somebody else, helping to contribute to the white name genocide. Or, obviously, you can support me on YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, or Patreon. All of those links, of course, are in the description, as always. And regardless of how you support me, whether it be a donation, a like, or even just kind words in chat and just chilling out and, hanging out, I really do appreciate it. You guys are fucking awesome. I love you, each and every one of you, very, very much. Anyway, as always, have a good one.